What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So I've realized at this point that EA will just continue to surprise me going forward, as sometimes they make up some of the weirdest reasons and excuses for why they're not doing something. And yesterday they had just an amazing answer to an investor who specifically seemed to ask about Switch support. And you're going to want to see what they had to say, because there has to be something else going on between EA and Nintendo. It's something, because it makes no sense. Also, it looks like the digital age is probably coming up a bit faster than people want to see, especially after seeing things from EA and Sony and some of their quarterly reports and where everything is going. So as always, guys, enjoy these videos. Make sure the like button, it does help out. And get subscribed if you want to stay up to date on all gaming news. Do this every weekday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time. We're going to start today actually with Game Pass. Game Pass, of course, has games added constantly, and it looks like August had a bunch of smaller games added to it coming up throughout the month to look forward to. Here's actually a slide that Microsoft put on their Xbox.com website, as you're seeing here. And from left to right, we have Ashes Cricket, Pandemic, Jackbox Party Pack 2, Slay the Spire, Space Hulk Tactics, and Downwell. If I had to pick a couple there, I would say from the console side, Slay the Spire is a good one to check out. And from the PC side, Downwell, definitely. Now, keep in mind, Game Pass consistently adds games in and takes games out. These just seem like more games that they're just throwing in there, and some that you may not have played and might be worth checking out. They're not really any blockbusters or massive, games or anything that they're going to make a big deal out of. Again, just kind of throwing more into the hopper for you to check out. But definitely at least check out Downwell if you're on PC, and then Slay the Spire on console. We also got to look at the August PlayStation Plus games. We have Wipeout Omega Collection, which is a good one because it does incorporate VR, and honestly, that's probably the best VR experience I've had. The game is super fluid, very high frame rate, very fast, and some people might be concerned about motion sickness because it does at times act like a crazy carnival ride, but it's really fun. I like that one a lot. And then the other is Sniper Elite 4, another one to check out, especially if you were interested in the series and you, of course, heard about their next Sniper Elite that apparently they're working on right now. But definitely Wipeout. Wipeout is worth checking out, even without VR, because Wipeout's just fun, right? But if you have PlayStation VR, you got to try it out. Seriously, just take a shot, see what you think. And if you're like me and you're looking forward to Borderlands 3, you'll probably be pretty happy to know, I would think, that it has gone gold, which when it goes gold, a game does, that means it's all done, it's ready to be slapped on some discs or uploaded to the servers, and just get ready for release day. Of course, Borderlands 3 is coming out September 13th, and, well, if you're on PC, you might be waiting an extra year if you're heavily against the Epic Game Store, because, of course, that's where it's going for a bit of exclusivity for a little while. Next year, you'll be able to pick it up on Steam, but if you're buying it on the Xbox One X like I am, you're probably ready to go September, next month actually, because we're now into August. So exciting stuff there. Not too much longer. We got a bunch of games coming up. Borderlands 3, of course, and Astral Chain spring to mind that are very close right now. So exciting stuff. Looking forward to, I think, getting close to the end of August, then really pushing to September, because September is packed right now. Oh, and if you wanted to feel kind of old this morning, the Game Boy. The Game Boy turned 30 yesterday. That's right. It is 30 years old. You know, the brick Game Boy, the one that took the 4 AA batteries and had the terrible screen. We look back on it now, kind of the monochromatic green and like black screen. Yeah, it's 30 now, so if you just wanted to feel kind of old because maybe you had one and now you're realizing that you've been into gaming for a long time, there you go. I had one of those, the brick Game Boys, then eventually I got the Game Boy Color, and then of course we went up to Advance and the SP and everything. Actually, I think I skipped the SP and I ended up going right to the Lite. But yeah, it's interesting to think about some of these systems and how old they are now, right? I mean, think about the PS2. You might look at the PS2 and remember that it feels like it was not that old, right? But it's 18. It's going to be 19 coming up soon. So yes, these systems are getting older and older, and we don't even realize it. And then you hear 30 for the Game Boy. Whew, man, we've been into gaming for a while, haven't we? And guys, some of the quick news out of the way. Let's get into the bigger stuff. We're going to start right away with EA. Because EA had their quarterly financials, and outside of them making a ton of money, as I think we would expect, right? Their microtransactions helped them a lot. In fact, at this time, FIFA makes more money on microtransactions than it does at retail for $6 a piece. Yes, right. Ultimate Team makes them more money. In fact, I believe at this point, their microtransactions with Ultimate Team makes up like a quarter of their overall revenue. It's something crazy at this point. It really is. But investors are starting to notice the Switch. We hear about it a lot in the news, right? We see it show up with all of these releases, and we keep seeing the install size grow, which is something I've mentioned. If as a console's install size grow, well, developers, publishers, investors, everyone starts to notice this thing because they see money. They see an install size that they can sell a game to, but EA seems to be doing the opposite. Rather than work to move things like Madden or NHL hockey, right? Basketball, these are all things that you would assume EA would start to push over to it because that's where a lot of their money is. They haven't, but investors are wondering why exactly. And Andrew Wilson decided to tell them, saying, anytime we're evaluating platform conversations, we're really looking at a couple of things. One, does the game really fit the profile of the platform in terms of the control or the community ecosystem? Two, do we think the community playing on that platform would appreciate the game and go there, or would they prefer to play it somewhere else? We have a lot of data that would suggest a great many Switch owners also want a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One or a PC, and very often choose to play the games that we make on those platforms, even though they have a Switch and they enjoy a lot of great content on the Switch. And an investor actually pushed back a bit and said, well, okay, that's fine, but wouldn't something like The Sims work really well in that system? I mean, Animal Crossing does well there, right? It pulls in that kind of that casual audience that enjoys the sim type games. And Andrew Wilson fired back saying, I wouldn't say that The Sims would never go to the Switch, but I think we're doing really, really well attracting Sims players to other platforms. We did a promotion in the last couple of months and brought in 7 million new Sims players that we expect will engage in that community on a platform that is really tailored to user-generated content, creativity, and customization. That's an interesting statement at the end, user-generated content. I don't think there's any game that's released recently on the Switch that people like to make stuff in, right? There's no game that has maker in the title at all. Yeah, this is again, The Sims is one of the easiest games I would think for EA to sell on the Switch and make their money back. I mean, that makes a ton of sense. It's easy. Animal Crossing got pushed to 2020. EA should be releasing The Sims this holiday. That makes the most sense, right? Oh, Animal Crossing getting pushed, we're gonna get The Sims out. But it doesn't appear that they're doing that. It's a weird, weird thing. And what they've described here is that basically the Switch and the Xbox and the PlayStation are all the same. Now, I will say, a lot of people tend to buy the Switch as a companion system for their PlayStation, their Xbox, or their PC. I see a lot of PC-Switch combos, by the way. Let me know if that's your combination. That's one I see a lot. But it seems like the Switch is a good companion system, which I understand why investors are saying, you gotta at least pay attention to that system, because we might be able to sell these people Madden twice, or FIFA twice, right? Or NHL, I should say. FIFA's at least there, but why aren't you pushing towards it? And it doesn't seem that EA is giving them a good reason. I mean, The Sims is an easy one, and they can't even describe why they're not doing that. They're just saying, oh, we just got 7 million new people into The Sims. And if I was an investor, I would have said, well, we could have made it 8, right? If we had the Switch, or 9. Who knows? Maybe the Switch takes off with The Sims. We don't know. It's a weird situation, but something's going on between EA and Nintendo that's not really out there. Now, EA does, I think, feel burned after the Wii U because they showed up with support, but like Mass Effect on the Switch, even the trilogy, would probably do well, I would think. People miss Mass Effect, old Mass Effect, not like Andromeda, nothing like that. People miss Mass Effect 1 and 2. I think that'd do well on the Switch, right? I mean, we see Capcom take advantage of the Switch situation a lot with their pricing. EA would probably do the same thing, but they're not. Weird stuff. Let me know what you think about EA's explanation why they're not there, and let me know what they could bring over. Would The Sims be the best thing, or would a Mass Effect collection, or should they just bring Madden, NHL, all the sports titles at least? Guys, let me know down below. Next up, let's talk about the Famitsu sales charts. These, of course, track the week-to-week sales in Japan, and we got our first look at Fire Emblem and some just hard numbers. Right, so let's take a look at the charts here. We'll go with the top 10 games, starting with Fire Emblem Three Houses at the top, 143,130. Below that, Fishing Spirits, that's 47,700. Mario Maker 2 below that. Then we have Rune Factory 4, which to be honest, that's not bad for Rune Factory 4 Special Edition at 37,916. Professional Baseball Spirits at 5. Olympic Games Tokyo 2020 at 6. Then Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Professional Baseball Spirits. That's on the Vita, by the way. Good for the Vita. Then Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and then Powerful Pro Baseball at number 10. Moving over to the hardware, we have the Switch at the top, 42,689. The PlayStation 4 below that, 11,182. 3DS at 2,667. The Vita, 243. And then the Xbox One at 51, which is still dropping down. I mean, the Xbox One isn't great in Japan, but the Switch is coming up to 8.6 million units. And I'm actually a little surprised the Switch hasn't dropped down more than that, considering a Lite is coming pretty soon in Japan, and then that revision is also showing up. Now, as for Fire Emblem Three Houses, there seems to be a lot going on around this release in Japan. The game is more expensive there, which is an odd thing. Vouchers play into this apparently, but if you really sit down and look at just the hard numbers, Fates sold more than double what this has done so far, and even Awakening sold quite a bit more also. Now, of course, this Fire Emblem, like I said, is more expensive. I mean, a 3DS game's 40 and the Switch game is 60, so I get that. I'd be curious more or less about the dollar sales, and then the vouchers apparently really helped with that with the sale that was going on. So I'm still going to kind of wait a bit with Fire Emblem to decide how it did sales-wise. I think it's going to do okay for Fire Emblem in general, like within the scope of Fire Emblem, but I don't think it's going to be this massive thing that really pushes switches that hard or like explode the franchise or anything at this point. But we'll see what Nintendo tells us, because they will tell us straight up, at least I think they will, how many it's sold, because of course they have the software charts, but it also has to get on the software charts, which means it'd probably have to sell about 3 million before the next fiscal report, and we'll see. Next up, the digital age continues to grow, and I think a lot of us realize this. We've seen the writing on the wall. It does appear that we are moving to a point where digital games will probably take over, and it'll go the way of the PC now with Steam, where you don't really buy physical games, and if you do, it's just a code, similar to Wolfenstein Youngblood, for example, for the Switch. That's kind of the way we're going, it seems. And, well, it looks like the trend continues as PlayStation has put out that they are now selling more games digitally than they are physically. It's now 53% to 47%. 53% digital, 47% physical. So PlayStation's already seen it, Sony. And now we're hearing from EA that they are up to 47% digital and 53% physical. And again, they make a lot of their money from microtransactions, so that's all digital, right? A lot of the revenue there. And it does look like we are moving to that point pretty soon. That's why I think if these were more skewed, I don't think next generation would have a disk drive. I think because we're 50-50 just about now, they still will. But this trend is showing me that this generation coming up is probably the last one with any type of physical disc. I'm gonna be curious if Nintendo continues to embrace the cartridge, because I have a feeling the Switch is also on that trend, as well as I see a lot of people picking up digital games on the system. So, I mean, I think the next Switch will still have a cartridge slot, but the one after that, I'm not sure. And same with Sony and Microsoft at this point. They might abandon that disk drive after Scarlet and PlayStation 5. So like PlayStation 6 and then, and I don't know, what do we call the next Xbox Turquoise won't have disk drives. We'll see. And our last bit of news, the Switch revision. We know it's coming out soonish. We know in August it's showing up in the US, and then apparently it's going to show up in September in the UK and Europe. But it looks like it's showing up today in China. Yeah, there are even pictures of this thing. Check this out. This is on Twitter from Chinese Nintendo, and they talked about how August 1st, today, it has released in China. They had all these really cool box shots of it, and it's all red and everything. It looks really cool. This is the newer model. So this is the one that has the extended battery life that we've talked about, specifically from a more efficient chip that is still paired, we believe, to that same battery, to where we're getting much better battery life, right? Like 5+ hours or so, 5 hours Breath of the Wild or whatnot. It sounds like the one to pick up if you, of course, want to switch now. So I would wait, because, yeah, in the next few weeks, I'll be checking it out here. I'm going to take it apart. I thought about for a minute. I was like, can I find somebody in China that can buy this and send it to me? But it'll be here in a couple weeks. We'll open it up here. We'll check it out. I'll even check out some of the performance, the temperatures. We'll see if it gets hot in the hands and everything. So we'll have some fun there. And that way you can decide if if that's the Switch for you, or maybe you want the Lite. But we'll check it out definitely and pull it apart. So make sure you subscribe so you can be around for that. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This one's from Andres Flores saying, does CTR have in-game purchases in the back of the box under the ESRB rating? If not, then this is scummy. Also, Smash really needs a Tales of Series rep. So I don't know if the last two characters would do well as one of them being a Tails rep, mostly because I don't think enough people would really notice to the point where they'd get really hyped and excited. Some people would, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm sure you would get excited, but there's probably a lot of people who wouldn't, or they wouldn't even get it. They wouldn't even understand what's happening. We just talked about some of the older systems, like the GameCube and stuff being pretty old, and like there's Tales of Symphonia, for example, on there. But some Tales of games, of course, have been coming up, but I just don't know if any of the characters there are recognizable for people to really jump out of their seats and get, you know, super excited about it. I think a Chrono or a Sora would definitely get some people really excited about it, but hey, you never know. You never know. There could be some cool stuff in there. As for CTR, there is no, as far as I can tell, in-game purchases thing underneath of it, and that is a bit of an issue because not only has Activision figured out how to get around the idea of reviews, they've been able to get around the idea of box art or having to put something on there unless they have updated it physically, but even then you see them get traded in, you see them sold secondhand, and that's not there. So again, live services kind of getting around some of the issues just because they're able to update it and work these in. They definitely had them thought of from the start, as I pointed out in the review, that would be a spot for microtransactions, and what do you know, they worked them in. That is something that's going to have to be dealt with, though. The fact that it doesn't say anything about in-game purchases anywhere on the box, and you should if it's part of the rating, so we'll see if something is done about that. Hey guys, go do here for Newswave. Enjoyed this video, hit the like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about, whether it's EA and their explanation for why they're not supporting the Switch as much as other developers and publishers. It seems odd because the Switch continues to grow, and it's gonna just be harder and harder as investors start to realize, wait a minute, that system has 70 million and we're still not doing anything with it? Trust me, investors will ask, especially when the console cycles reset. Then they're gonna feel the pressure. Like I said, if they're not developing for this system by the end of next year, it's gonna get interesting to see what happens in those meetings. Also, let me know what you think about the digital age creeping up, and then what about the new Switch, the Switch revision? Are you picking one up? I'm curious if you've waited this long or if you're trading yours in to get that one. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.